Dear Class of 2020. Typically, these graduation speeches include someone old telling you what they wish they knew at their graduation. But since you could be older than me, I'll refrain from doing so. I'll show you how possible it is to achieve the life you dream. You've reached the top of the hill. The top of your schooling hill. Over the past 12 years of schooling, you've had many ups and many downs and travelled along many different terrains of road. Our generation were the first generation to go through school with technology, some of us feeling more connected than ever, whilst others, being the victim of cyberbullying, felt more isolated than ever before. Some of you were gifted academically, cruised along with straight A's, whilst others put in every extra hour they had to study so they could just scrape through. I know some of you out there were the athletically gifted ones. Others, this could have been the toughest part of the hill. And there are some of you out there that are the most talented artists and creators, but the person next to you might feel that they simply don't have a creative bone in their body. And then you got to the final stretch of the hill. You could see the top. You knew it was going to be hard. We all knew it was going to be hard, but no one knew it was going to be this hard. The final part of the hill presented you with snow, one of the toughest lockdowns the world has ever seen. Fire, separation from your friends through what was meant to be the year of celebration. And wind, your schooling went online. But despite all of this, you persevered through 2020 and successfully made it here to the peak, so congratulations. The point being, each of you have had your own individual journey. You've climbed your own hill, and you've had your own family and friends in school give you the tools that, yes, made it a little bit easier, but without your dedication and your commitment, you would not be here today celebrating at the top your graduation. Truth be told, I never graduated from high school. At my graduation ceremony, they gave me one of them slips of paper, but yes, you may be holding right now. But it was empty. My family likes to call it the Participation Award, which I got quite a bit during my professional sporting career. But yes, I didn't meet the requirement to graduate high school within Western Australia. Before I get any further, I feel like this is a good time to clarify who I am to the parents and grandparents watching live, wondering, who is this kid who failed high school and why am I here? My name is Massara and I'm the CEO and founder of Youth Leadership Academy Australia, and despite having 51% attendance in Year 12 and very stressed parents, I'm now studying my Masters in Business Administration at one of Australia's business schools. At this point in my life, I know 5 things. Well, I know more than 5 things. These are the 5 lessons that I live by, and I'll share these with you now. It actually started when many of you began this journey that you finished today, my very first day of high school. I was 11, and I was so nervous, like some of you may be feeling right now. I was nervous because I didn't know anyone. I just started my first business, so I was nervous because I didn't know how people would react to me having a business, and it was a plain website. But most of all, I was nervous because I thought people would judge me for who I was. And for the first time in my life, I was unsure on who I wanted to show up and be. And for the first few weeks, I would come home from school and work on this plane website, my new business, known as Planepedia, the Wikipedia of planes, and I kept a big secret that I was so proud of. One by one, people started finding out naturally, and most were impressed, but those who weren't could not damage how proud I was about it. This led to them being quite supportive. And a few weeks into my very first year of high school, I made a decision. And this decision was, I will own my story. The story of me as an entrepreneur. The story of me as a plain nerd. And the me who is proud of what I have created. And that was lesson number 1. Own your story or others will. I did not know this at the time, but this was quite simply the most influential decision I've ever made. I went through the next few years with very little care. I started saying yes to opportunities with no fear of what people would think of me. And I began growing that plain website. So I continued to be the me who was an entrepreneur, the me who had a plain website, and I was gifted with opportunities. The first one being to travel to Sydney and attend an event, all expenses paid, and I was honestly just excited for the free plane ride. So as you leave here today, I challenge you, the graduating class of 2020, to really ask yourself, who am I? And are you really that person to the world? It is time to own your story, own your goals, and own your dreams. I became more and more me, and I didn't necessarily fall into a clique. I did exactly what I wanted to do rather than what the crowd did, and at this time I had this integrity to do the same with Planepedia. And it began to stand out as a brand within the aviation industry. And as a 15-year-old, I was invited to partner with Qantas and Singapore Airlines as their media representative at an event in Perth. They could have selected any other person, brand, or even Instagram account, but they selected mine because I was unique. At this point, I learnt the second greatest lesson in my life. Your individualities are your greatest asset. What makes you, you, is so incredibly valuable. Make the choices for your life based on your terms, based on your values, based on your goals, and how you want your life to look, not someone else's. And as cheesy as it sounds, the world is your oyster. The opportunity to work with multi-billion-dollar companies at 15 and watch them treat me no differently to any other executive was a very life-defining moment for me. My age didn't matter. What mattered to them was my reputation and what influence I had within the aviation industry. So I had been exposed to leadership opportunities, travelling alone and dealing with these multi-billion-dollar companies all by 15. I left the airport on that day learning lesson number 3. Your age does not determine your ability to achieve extraordinary things. Potentially one of the most impactful lessons. They say your age is just a number, yet often more than not, your incredible ability is discounted based on our age. And I challenge you to oppose that. Ignore your age, create greatness, and display these greatest abilities. With this mindset and fire within me entering year 11, I was angered, thinking, why don't all young people have these leadership opportunities? Why don't all young people have access to these cool things that I've done? And I heard a quote by Malcolm X, if not now then when, and if not me then who? And I channeled that anger and founded Youth Leadership Academy Australia with the mission of building a positively sustainable future through youth empowerment and leadership. I hosted the very first event a few months later in Perth with 65 students at 16 and 92% of them feeling more adequately prepared for the future. I was on top of the world. I was labelled teen entrepreneur and my classmates thought it was awesome and I had so much support and I decided let's do this nationally. Entering year 12, I felt more alive and confident in the brand than ever before. A video by Arnold Schwarzenegger, sent by my dad, left me with the desire to pursue Plan A at all costs. As he said, every energy into Plan B is energy away from Plan A. And I sat there with my parents and the principal as we decided I would no longer be prioritising school. And some of you may be sitting there wishing you had that opportunity. But I was told at that point, any hopes of me going to university would be gone. The first tour came around, 750 seats nationwide, only 212 would be sat on, 33% sold out. I still showed up to every single event, made tough decisions last minute. Instead of having an event in Sydney, we went to a school. That 200-seat Gold Coast venue was reduced to fit 12, and I travelled around the country fueled by the desire to make an income and prove those who doubted me wrong. I got home drained, exhausted, and on the verge of giving up, until I read through the feedback. The 12 people at the Gold Coast event had the most impactful experience. That Sydney school went on to create a really strong student leadership body, and the Melbourne schools were already emailing me, asking for tickets to the next year's events. I sat there and I decided I had to keep going. I revisited the reasons why I started the business. I created outcomes and objectives for the events. I put them at the forefront above anything else. I started doing school programs and became fueled by what I was passionate about rather than what I thought I wanted. And 1 year later, 770 students were registered for our 2020 tour. We were 103% sold out. Lesson 4. Follow your passion, not the profit. As you leave school today, you will make a decision or already have made a decision based on what your first career will be. And I say first, as statistics show that the average person will have 5 to 7 jobs during their working life. If you are stepping into a job based on money, I ask yourself, is this really going to make you happy in 5 to 10 years? Or are you going to look back and regret making the decision to chase money? This by all means does not mean ignore money. If I ignored the financial situation of my business, I would most likely not be here today. But what I would like to challenge you to instead is to not let it be the driving force. Colin Wright says it quite perfectly. Chase your passion and money will come. Chase money and you may never find your passion. 2020 has been quite tough for the business as well. 17th of March at the final event on tour, Brisbane, we were set to deliver programs throughout regional Australia, and at the lunch break on that final event, I was on the phone to the travel agent, cancelling all my flights of the year and heading home. Immediately the business was put on life support. I developed an online program which didn't break it, and with $500 left in the bank account, I decided for me to succeed, I needed to survive alone. I moved out of home 2 hours away into the city I went. I got a job at a call centre and became fully independent. No more could I rely on mum for food or pay the rent. If all went bad, it was up to me. And despite being told I would never be able to go to uni, I decided I was going to try. I wanted to get into the Masters of Business program, which typically you either need an undergraduate degree or a diploma and some management experience. And despite all of odds, in September of this year, I was accepted to study my Masters in Business Administration based on my experience. Lesson 5. Numbers do not matter. With this in mind, as you get your results over the coming weeks, or even if you already have them, do not let these define what you can and cannot do. Let the passion and the determination and dedication that you've shown over the past 12 years that have pushed you to the peak define what you can and cannot do. Let the strong relationships you've built with those around you through the climb define how important you are to this world. And let the resilience that you've shown through 2020 define how incredibly prepared you are for the real world. And let the passion be the driving force for the change you are going to create in the world. Congratulations, class of 2020. You have made it to the peak of this hill. You have made it to the top of the hill. And Jane Goodall said it perfectly. Young people, when informed, empowered, and when they realise what they do truly makes a difference, can indeed change the world.